Alert, Hillary campaign leader makes sick confession. The tension between Antifa and white supremacists reached a boiling point in Charlottesville, Virginia. Despite most people including President Trump regarding both groups as toxic and even terroristic, not everyone seems to feel the same way. Brian Fallon, the former campaign spokesperson for Hillary Clinton, recently put out a disturbing tweet. The tweet shows a picture of the Allied forces invading Normandy on June 6, 1944, or D-Day. The caption with his tweet says, "Also confronted the Nazis without a permit." In other words, Fallon is openly supporting an official government-declared terrorist organization because they help further his agenda. D-Day was a pivotal movement against the Nazis in World War II that involved the invasion of Normandy, where 156,000 Americans, British, and Canadian troops landed along France's coast. The Allied troops who survived that bloody day were able to free France from the Nazis. In the end, the invasion led to the Germans surrendering, and thus, Hitler fell. In sharp contrast, the battle at Charlottesville involved the terrorist group Antifa attacking vile white supremacists, who still have their freedom of speech regardless of how horrible their ideology might be. But here is the kicker: the majority of the people attacked were not white supremacists at all. Lauren Southern proved as much during an interview with James Alsop, who was at the scene in Charlottesville. When the Unite the Right movement first became violent, she spoke with Alsop about the type of people there. Alsop confirmed that many of the people at these rallies were not white supremacists at all, just simply people concerned about their rights. Yet, it appears they had a reason to worry since the terrorist group Antifa, supported by Fallon and financed in part by George Soros, shut down their right to free speech despite their permit. Many people responded angrily to Fallon's inflammatory tweet. One user named Rick Barnes responded, "D-Day heroes, like my uncle, compared to Antifa? It's a shame my uncle isn't alive to educate on how incredibly moronic this tweet is." The notion that Fallon believes Antifa is a legendary fighter squad taking out the evil Hitler like Trump is perhaps one of the biggest concerns that Americans should have. This rings especially true when considering that Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness classifies Antifa as a terrorist group of anarchist extremists. In the past year alone, the group has destroyed property in Berkeley, California, and attacked other people with bare fists and even homemade weapons. They caused a Trump rally in Philadelphia to be shut down in May. They also managed to shut down speaking events from people on the right with their threats of violence. The list goes on and on. It is disturbing that someone who supported a former candidate for president would align with groups like this. They throw everyone under the umbrella of being a Nazi and attack on command. Ironically, the group Antifa stands for anti-fascists, but they act more like fascists than any of the groups at which they lash out. Their goal is to limit and or exterminate what they consider to be offensive or discriminatory. In doing so, freedom of speech is compromised so that only people they like are allowed to be heard. Logically, Fallon should be just as outraged as everyone else about the violent attempts to shut down free speech. It goes back to the saying, if it weren't for double standards the left wouldn't have any standards at all. Are the D-Day warriors comparable to the Antifa hoodlums? Please share this news and scroll down to comment below.